everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia. Hi.
I'm Mike DiLisio.
Welcome to another Top 10. So let's start off here with some explanation. So last week we did our Top 10. What do we call them?
We called them
Casual
two-player games.
Come on.
We're now doing our Top 10 advanced two-player games. We talked about what to name this list. That's what we're calling it.
We made the wrong choice.
I'm just going to say right now that for me, there was, when I made this list, there was never an option of, I don't know if it goes on this list or the list from last week. For me, there's a third invisible list we're not doing called Top 10 Medium Weight Games for two players. And so
that's what this list is then, for me almost.
Oh, no, you did the invisible list.
I did the invisible list.
You're supposed to ignore the invisible list.
I knew I did something
No,
wrong.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I did. So it's not of if it hadn't made this list, it would have made the list from last week, and so on and so forth.
So none of the games on your first list were from that invisible medium list, huh?
No. I'm saying that you could argue that they could move in either direction, but there's no way a game from that list would make this week's list and vice versa.
Because they would hit that middle list first.
I know you're mocking this, but I know people know what I'm talking about.
So,
of course I know what you're talking about. I get it.
So I chose that arbitrary weight scale, the BGG weight scale of 2.0, right? I chose that for the list that we did last time, the casual list. Really, this list is anything that is above 2.0.
Oh,
and
you're skipping the middle list.
I will tell you this has a
What, if it's a 2.01, that's advanced?
There may or may not be a game here that is a 2.10.
Well, let me ask a small question since we're on this waiting. How many rankings does a game have to have for this to be valid?
Apparently,
did you know this?
Apparently one, because
one of his games in his list last week had one rating of a 2.
But I will tell you,
Yes.
But I honestly thought that weight of a 2 was too high, so I didn't worry about that.
But do you know if that rating's 2 right now?
It's not, because somebody went in there and put a 5. I'm sorry. Let's make a bus route. The dice game is not a 5.
Just to mess with you?
Just to mess with me, yeah.
Oh,
and that's fine.
It wasn't me.
No, yeah, I'm sure it wasn't. No, I'm sure it wasn't. All I'm saying is this list has a much wider range of complexity than that first list. I have a game that's from, I said, 2.1 all the way up to a 4.23. But these skew lighter because, as I said last time, I don't play a lot of two-player games, and when I do, they tend to be the more casual games.
Right.
So that's all there is to it.
This is my list of games. So I used my wife as kind of or someone who hasn't played many games, one of those two. This would be, someone comes in, we both played a ton of games. We want to play a two-player game. These are the ones I'm pulling out.
Okay.
Top 10 two-player games with a gamer.
Okay. Yeah, none of these games are games that I would necessarily love to play with somebody who's new to gaming. I'll put it to you that way.
Well, sure. I mean, that's the very epitome of it being called advanced.
There you go.
I'll play these with anybody.
Okay.
No. Some of these, no.
Some of these are much more heavy than others.
I brought some pretzels. I was told we are sometimes too mean to each other.
Oh.
So I'm going to, when they say something really stupid, I'm just going to eat a pretzel. Passive-aggressively.
You're going to need some more pretzels, Tom.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think I brought enough.
No, you did not, because I'm getting ready to get real stupid.
Where's my list? That's a good question.
Get the pretzels. I'm going to eat your pretzels, too.
It's in here somewhere.
If you take one, that's legit, but it has to be the same thing.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
There's my list.
You're the wrong list?
No, I have an
funny if you
incomplete thing.
I thought you were looking for the hidden list.
I had a brainstorming list.
Oh.
I got it. We're
Okay.
good.
All right.
Eat the pretzels.
No, that was a good statement to say.
Are we ready to start
with
this?
number 10.
All right, so my number 10 is actually classified, I believe, as a war game. And I don't play a lot of war games. This is a game that I actually played with you relatively recently. Okay? This game. No. Blitzkrieg is an interesting example.
Blitzkrieg is in my middle list. Boom, done.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Okay. This is the Shores of Tripoli.
Ooh, okay. No, I applaud your choice. I will not even touch the pretzels.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's not a heavy game, but I certainly wouldn't want to introduce people that were not familiar with like this card-driven action system that you see here. It's an asymmetric two-player game where one person is playing as the American forces and the other player is playing as the Tripolitan forces, and it's based around the first Barbary War, Barbary Coast War, right? Really clever. It feels like the Twilight Struggle Light in a way. You're playing cards that are, you have to know your deck to you know what I mean?
So like daytime struggle.
It's daytime struggle.
No.
It's the middle list struggle.
I mean, it's a war game that uses cards. I wouldn't say it's like Twilight Struggle.
Okay, that's probably not a great comparison. Only in the sense that
Change your mind
to feel competent, you have to know your deck and you have to play through it a few times. That's what I'm getting.
It's also not intuitive.
No, it is not. Yeah, there are some cards that you have to be aware that the other side has certain things, and that's another thing that's similar to Twilight Struggle. So anyway, I think this is a very clever, relatively streamlined war game. Very out of my comfort zone when I came into it, but I really enjoyed it, and that's why I made my list.
It's really fun.
It is good. So number 10, On the Shores of Tripoli.
From the halls of Monterey
to
the shores of Tripoli.
I'm going to need a whole bag of these pretzels pretty soon.
That's right. You're going to get rice cakes and you're going to like it.
My number 10 is a game called Lewis and Clark. Right, Roy? Yes, good.
You like this one too?
Lewis and Clark, The Expedition, I consider to pretty much almost exclusively be a game for 2. You might talk with 3, but it's unlikely. And then I will definitely not play with more than that.
Okay.
The game outstays its welcome by quite a bit. I think, honestly, right after 2.
I agree.
Because it's not a short game.
It is not.
It takes about, I'll say, 40 minutes per player or so.
Right.
45 minutes per player. So you play 2 players, it's about an hour and a half, and that's good. You've got some card purchasing, and then you can use those characters to help you on your journey. You can, it's kind of like a worker placement game smashed up against this card-driven action game, right? And both parts, when you take a turn, you do one game or the other game. And both parts work really well together. And you're racing in like the slowest race in history, but you're doing that. 2, I find it compelling, and I find it engaging, very well made. And more than that, it's so slow and long. It's so long.
I wonder, I don't like the game at all.
I do like it.
But I've never played it with 2.
Oh, it's so much better with 2.
It's definitely better with 2, I agree. And like you said, the fact that it is a race, I think, also makes it feel better as a 2-player game. It's you and that other person. I mean, it's a very clean... you like this better than the dice version as well, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, dice version's good.
The dice version is fine. That's
It's
a better
with more
multiplayer.
Exactly. Yeah.
But this is a good... big box sort of 2-player game that feels great at 2, and too long for what it is at more than that. So
this had some of the earliest Vincent Dutrait art I noticed too that I really like. The game was like, oh, who is this artist?
Yeah.
That's true. That was it wasn't the first game.
One of the
but
earlier
it was definitely
ones,
one of the ones that brought him to my attention.
Sure. Yeah. Good choice.
that's my number 10.
My number 10 is Mage Wars. Got to say it really fast before it gets on the screen.
What?
Mage Wars. Your number 10 was spoiled before you said it.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Oh, it was?
Or Mage Wars Academy, one or the other. I mean, I can flip back and forth. Definitely, the majority of my list are fairly involved games. Mage Wars is no exception there. You have a book, a little binder full of spells. You can play any of those spells. I mean, half the game is building that book before you play.
Sure.
And then you can play any of those as long as you have the magic to play them. And then you fight back and forth, rolling dice. It's some similarities to Magic the Gathering and that you're summoning creatures, and that's about it, really.
Yeah.
It's really involved, and I tend to like Mage Wars Academy a little better because it takes the board out.
I was going to ask you about that, yeah, because the original game has that kind of tactical element there with the board play.
The new one does not have as much of a tactical element, although you sacrifice that for a faster, more streamlined game.
I'd take that every time.
Yes, but I could play both, right? This is just a fun game. I really like how different every mage is. You got one mage that's growing plants up, and another one raising zombies from the grave, and you have plants versus zombies.
So do you like the actual building of your character as much as the playing of the cards? Because
Yes.
it seems to me like that's half the game, right?
It's not half the game.
40%.
40%.
Yes.
Half a pretzel.
Yeah. Yes, it is about 40%, but once I build it, I don't toy with it as much because you don't play all the cards in it.
Right.
So I'll be like, this time I'm going to summon this first.
Sure.
I feel like I'm messing with it more. But that, almost any deck building game or anything like that, half the game for me is messing with building the deck.
Right.
I sorted cards last night for 2 hours straight and was very content, and I felt like I was playing a game. So, I don't know.
Cards for what?
You know, I'm not getting sucked back
That
into
Zee
a collectible card
ASMR
game.
voice is a little bit unnerving, I
sorting
gotta
things
say.
out.
It's like that's like a trap.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
What were you doing?
What was that for?
Let's move on to number 9.
All right, so my number 9 is a game that I think is kind of a flown under the radar game. It is a game that
Subterra. Under the radar. Subterra.
No, that's under the earth, Z.
It's also under
Stealth.
the radar.
Stealth is under the radar.
Stealth.
B-2 bomber or something like that.
Yeah, no, I get that, but there's no game called Stealth.
I bet there is a game
You're telling me
called
that
Stealth.
Subterra also means under the radar?
No.
No, what I said
I'm
made
saying
more
if
sense.
it's in the earth,
Okay.
it also is below the radar.
He doesn't. You don't eat when you say something dumb. You eat when someone else says something
Oh,
dumb.
well, I would eat them, but I have to talk about this game. So, this is DiLisio Island. This is the 2-player only version of Dinosaur Island. I really, really like this game. It's got an I split, you choose mechanic, which is one that I think it's not utilized as much as maybe it should. I really like that as a mechanic.
I do wish it was in more games.
Yeah, it's a really neat, and basically it takes many of the elements of Dinosaur Island where you're drafting DNA dice, easy for me to say, to build dinosaurs, and you are kind of drafting character powers. But it's a more streamlined experience than Dinosaur Island. It's certainly a smaller table presence, but there's still some really nice thinky decisions.
It's really different, especially since you can play Dinosaur Island with 2 players.
Right, but I wouldn't. I would always choose. It's okay, but I would always choose this over that.
I think they're different games. That's what I'm saying.
They are. Yeah, and Dinosaur Island is okay as a 2-player game, but I just think if I want kind of that vibe, that theme in a 2-player game, I'm going with this. DiLisio Island, I think more people should try this game. It's good.
Excellent.
I wish it was a different title. That's such a dumb
Really?
title.
Come on. I mean,
I hate it so much.
But that should not keep you from playing a game, Z.
No, I know, of course, right. But it doesn't. It's not a jokey game.
It's the same reason why.
You know what I mean? Like,
I say that, but I'm like, that's kept me from playing Automania. Is I don't like the cover, which is stupid. I'm eating a pretzel. I should play it.
He's just a little snacky, I think. You know what I mean?
Any excuse, you're like, I'm hungry.
Also, those
tell me something dumb.
Very stale. I'm not going to be able to talk for the next hour and a half.
You don't have a drink, do you?
I do, actually.
Okay, good. My number 9 is Mr. Jack in New York. And the reason I picked Mr. Jack in New York, even though it is not my favorite, it is the thinkiest and most strategic of all the Mr. Jack games. There's Mr. Jack, the original, in New York, and then there's a spin-off about the Phantom of the Opera, which is the lightest of those 3, by the way. That one's the one I would recommend first to someone who hasn't played any of them. If you don't care about which theme, then that's the easiest one. But if you want the most open-ended, then Mr. Jack in New York is the most open-ended one because the board starts largely empty. This is an abstract game of positional awareness and trying to figure out which of these characters is Jack the Ripper and capture them. In the original game, you have alleys and houses that block the way and exits and things like that. In this one, you begin with a board that's empty, and you build where the parks go. You build where the lanterns go. So the decisions are much farther reaching. I don't like it because it's a little slower and a little sort of more brain burny than the other ones. I like my in-between, thinking but moving along. And so I kept just the Mr. Jack eventually, but I think it is extremely well put together, very well balanced, one side versus the other. And if you are looking for, again, the really advanced one, then this is the advanced one. Mr. Jack in New York. And Tom hates it.
I wasn't even going to say it. I was going to go to. I'm still not going to say it. All right. I saw someone in the comments says that I'm saying mechanism wrong. I'm not. Mechanism is actually the correct word.
Yeah.
When Mike says mechanic, he's talking about the guy who fixes your car.
I am incorrect. Yeah, it is mechanism.
Actually, mechanic, the dictionaries are changing it to mean that, so both are legit.
I say both.
Scott Nicholson got on my case about it, so I've always said mechanism because.
Yeah, mechanism is the one that's probably the most correct. Sometimes I say mechanic, sometimes I say mechanism.
It's a little snootier too.
Let's call the whole thing off. You say mechanic.
My number 9 is.
No? There you go.
So complicated, most people don't play it. At least that's my reasoning. Most people don't play it. I just sorted this out a few days ago. I was going through my games and sorting them out one by one, and I thought, I don't know when I'm going to play this again, even though I love the game, and that's Duel of Ages 2.
Here we go. Here we go.
But I love this game. Now, this game, originally, when I first got Duel of Ages, I was attracted to it because it says, I think it even says on here, it says 2 to 8. The original one said 2 to 16. And I was like,
oh, man.
What? That's amazing. I would not say that now. It's been 20 years since I bought Duel of Ages.
Right.
But
Ooh, look at that.
That is a stunning looking board.
Yes.
And I mean literally stunning. I don't know what to think.
Look, there's no question.
You say, please
this is an ugly board.
I say, please shoot me.
It's an ugly board. The card, artwork, not fantastic.
No.
The game's a little more complex, and yet I love it. And you'll meet people like me. We like it, and we're having a good time.
It's that anachronism that you like,
It really
right?
is.
That's what you love about it.
I like anachronistic themes, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, things like that.
Yeah.
That's what this is. You have people from time and space. You have a group of them. I like to play 8 versus 8s. Pick someone else. You pick 8 characters. I pick 8 characters out of a deck of 200 and whatever.
Yeah.
All kinds of weapons. I mean, every game is different. And like Cosmic Encounter, I love that sort of thing. They all have special powers.
Sure.
One guy's an amazing fighter. This person sucks at fighting, but they can
Run around
really fast. This person switches everyone else's stats when they're near him. But it's easily. I don't play it as much because I don't feel like teaching it to people.
Oh, it's a beast. It is a beast. I played this once a long, long time ago, so I am aware of what it is and how it plays. I don't like it at all, but I see the attraction of open-endedness and sort of just.
It's really sandboxing.
Anything can happen, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I really love it, and I would. Like, one of my dreams would be for somebody to come and take this game and streamline it. That's not going to happen. I know because I really tried hard to make it happen. It's just not going to happen.
I was going to say, maybe Tom Vasel could be the one to do it.
Tom Vasel tried.
Wow.
No. So.
All right, well.
Maybe somebody good at that kind of stuff could try, though.
That's true. You could do that.
That's my number 9.
There you go.
We need to throw those out.
They're
at some
rough,
point.
man. Those are rough. I'm still dealing with the repercussions of that. My number 8 is a. Here you go. Try one, Z. You can give yourself time for it to. That is sawdust to work its way through your system.
One.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. All right, my number 8 is a game that you can play with more than 2, but this to me is very much a 2-player game. This is Shaolia Warring States. This is another game that
you are loving on this game.
I really,
This is at all, Mike. What is this?
This is kind of turning into my pet project game. I think it's one that I really, really like. It's basically where each player has their own kind of home territory. There you go, and you're playing. You're buying cards out of a market that you're playing on your territory that are either going to be usually offensive or defensive cards, and you're just simply in the main mode of the game trying to either knock out the other player's kind of defenses or get a culture victory. There are other cards you can play that move you up a culture track. So you're either trying to kind of win militarily or culturally, but it's all based off of these cards that you play. And it's nice because there are so many different cards, and you're only going to have a market of, I can't remember, maybe 8 or so at the beginning of each game. So it could be very different depending on which cards you have in the game. game. A very clean rule set, but a thinky game in that you're trying to kind of see what your opponent's going to be doing, and it's more tactical than strategic, I think, but I tend to like tactical games, especially two-player.
Yes.
And so this is a game that I'm very excited to see. It's getting an expansion that I'm looking forward to, and I hope more people get a chance to play this one, too. I like it a lot.
You can play with more than two, but I would not.
I would not either. It's best as a two-player game.
Because there's two ways to win. One's by culture, one's by attacking.
Mm-hmm.
In a three-player game, the attacking goes down a little bit in my sense because there's two people.
You're attacking both with every attack.
Yeah.
So it's
and
just
it feels a little. I don't know. It doesn't feel as smooth.
It feels like a two-player game that's being shoehorned into a different player count. Is honestly what it feels like. So, yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a good game.
I haven't heard of this at all.
It's in the library, man.
Oh, Jake's yell me Coke.
I'm not going to get a pretzel, though, I'll tell you that.
Pretzel. Give him a pretzel.
No.
Okay, my number 8 is a game called Summoner Wars.
Oh, really?
First edition. And the reason it's first edition is because I haven't played the new edition.
Also in the library.
Oh, yeah, it's right outside
I don't want to hear any more about this library, okay?
You walk through it every day.
What? I don't know how to read.
It's a Dewey Decimal System in there.
You could easily substitute this for second edition if you've played it. I just haven't. I like the idea of playing this miniatures game with no miniatures, just on the cards with the nice information right there right there on the cards, and the simplicity of movement. The grid being so straightforward is a big part of it as well. You know, it's exactly the opposite of a free-form miniatures game. You get to move 3. It's like 1, 2, 3. There. Okay. Am I close enough to attack you? 2 spaces away in a really obvious, grid? Great. I roll some dice and do it. This feels like the kind of game that, I don't know, again, the design process, how that went, but it feels like a rock that they polished and polished and polished, and eventually the only things left were the absolute necessities to make the game work and to make the factions distinct from one another.
Right.
Mechanically, this is very straightforward. The advanced part comes from exploring the different factions, the tactics, and it is very tactical also, sort of responding and figuring out where you want to be at any given moment. What seems like you're trying to flank me over here, hold on, let me summon this and throw it in your way. Or wait till you cross this threshold and throw this lion at you or something.
Yeah, the lion.
The lion, baby. So it's very enjoyable, and it does kind of give me that miniatures sort of feel without there being a bunch of things on a board. So, yeah, I'm excited to try the new one. I just haven't gotten around to it.
This game is so
Summoner
good.
Wars.
I put the second edition in our library, and I kept the first edition in the library.
Did you?
Yes.
It's not my favorite game, but I've always been impressed by how balanced the factions feel, and that's pretty impressive. There's a lot of factions available now.
For sure.
Well, not in the new one, though.
No, because the new one is trash, right?
No, the new one just is brand new, so they've only got the 6 in there. 6?
That's correct. That's actually another reason I haven't.
Yeah, right. That's why I won't play it until there are at least as many as the first one had. And then when I start to play that...
You've just broken Roy.
So that's when Summoner Wars 3 comes out. He's like, all right, fine, I'll play 2.
There you go. That's how I do
He still hasn't watched Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, man.
All right.
Oh,
that joke did not correlate.
Didn't work out, yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it, Tom. Don't do it. You got to be able to talk.
I got to do it, but I got to talk first. All right, my number 8 is another one of these two-player back-and-forth games. This one involves superheroes, although you wouldn't know it as much because it's abstracted, but I love it anyway. That's Dice Masters.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I still talk about Dice Masters, so I like Magic the Gathering a lot, and it goes up and down. There are years where I'm high on Magic and years where I'm low on Magic. Where I'm at right now is fairly high, actually, because I really like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
but,
Forgotten Realms.
Anyway, so like I said, hours last night sorting cards. But I like this a little better than Magic because it gives me the feeling of Magic collecting these cards, you know, and making your own deck, although here your deck is 8 cards.
Right.
Sure.
And 20 dice. But then using those dice, it feels really tactical. At each game, again, it's kind of back to Mage Wars. I have these 8 cards. There's some randomness in which dice come out of the bag, but the randomness, I'm choosing the dice that go in that bag. And I feel like the combat back and forth is really good. this is another game that I think could benefit from a new second edition of it, probably.
Yeah.
But as it is, it's fun. I like the different themes, although weirdly enough, even though I dislike Duel of Ages, I like anachronistic stuff if it... I don't know what the word for it is, if it kind of meshes. So like, for example, in Duel of Ages, it's a bunch of different people from history and humans and androids. But then it doesn't have Pokemon in it, too.
Right.
So this one is weird for me because I like Marvel. I'll play against DC. Even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles works.
WWE.
But then WWE, I have to play by itself.
Right.
Or Warhammer. They don't
But do you mix the other ones?
I mix Marvel and DC. Oh, yeah, no problem.
Well, but those are all both superhero things.
Right. And even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they are heroes.
They're kind of like that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just don't like mixing IPs that don't fit the same sort of
Yeah, but I didn't even like putting in Yu-Gi-Oh.
What about D&D?
I didn't. No, I didn't like mix. D&D is good.
Right, but you want it on its own.
Yes.
I'm a real stickler for that. I don't like getting those things mixed up. I mean,
You don't even like
DC
mixing
and
Marvel
Marvel
DC?
is the same thing.
Yeah, for the most part.
Sir, have you seen Batman vs Superman?
Yeah, with Spider-Man in it, yeah, I've seen it.
That would be amazing. I would watch that movie.
You shouldn't. It's terrible.
All right. Punishment time. Go ahead. You know, the first bite, it's not so bad.
Right.
But each progressive bite.
Right, because you get once you get past that outer shell, the outer shell is
Salt.
fine.
Once the salt is gone.
When you get to the sawdust in the middle, that's when it becomes and it takes all of the moisture out of your body, and it all coalesces into your
Whose
mouth.
idea was this?
This was yours. You like that?
I like it.
I don't even think it's used correctly there, but I'll take it.
That comes
Kinda,
together,
kinda.
coalesces.
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
works.
All right, I'll take it. All right, my number 7 is another what's classified as a war game. DiLisio, I don't even know who you are anymore.
Is he like,
Talking to himself? What's going on? I believe. Have you coalesced?
I've coalesced.
are you complimenting yourself at this point?
No, I'm saying I don't even know who I am anymore. That's not a
what happens when you
compliment.
turn 50.
And you start liking war games apparently, because my number
That's
7.
true. He is starting to get like that.
Right.
Like that.
I'm going to be
Oh,
sitting
is that
in
what
my
it is?
in my
You're
in my
Grog
easy
nerd
chair,
age now.
my Barca lounger. I'm going to be watching the History Channel.
Yeah.
It's coming for you.
I'm going to somehow get the TV guide and do the crossword in the back of the TV guide.
I didn't say you're going back in time, Mike.
That would be awesome. My number 7 is you can choose the version, Undaunted, either Normandy or North Africa. They're both fantastic. They're basically both the same game.
Okay.
They're both very available to get right now, and I recommend them both. North Africa is cool because it has the vehicles, but they're both really good
they're
systems.
both. I like this one a little better.
Maybe a little better, right? But such a great, clean system. Again, another tactical game.
Really good.
Where you're playing kind of tiles as your map, and there are different scenarios throughout the game. You can kind of play through it as a campaign, but you can also just play them as one-off scenarios. Just a really streamlined rule set, but don't take that to mean that there's no decisions to be made, because there are plenty of decisions to be made. There is some randomness with dice rolling, but you can also mitigate that. Just a really clever game design system. I feel like that this system could be really expanded to a lot of other different.
Well, they are coming out with an expansion for it.
They
expansions
are.
for
Undaunted Marvel.
No.
No.
But I'm saying if
Is
you
this
want
a war game? How much of a war game is this?
not much, only in theme. It's a war game in the sense that the Grizzled is a war game.
No.
okay.
You don't think so?
No. You are literally shooting at other people in this
guess
game.
that's true, but yeah, but it doesn't feel like a
Literally?
traditional. Yes, you actually.
You play with angry folks.
No, I'm probably
You're
hemming and
an
hawing too much.
animal.
This is a war themed game. I don't think it feels like most war games. I think any war gamer out there would flip out over the.
I don't care. This is a war game.
Okay.
This is 100% a war game. I don't care what some arbitrary person.
That's
I'm
true.
arbitrary.
It has
a war game.
fog of war cards. It has military
Like this.
units. Military units,
there you
military
go.
weapons. You are taking part in military style activities. So yeah, it's a war game.
You literally move troops around.
You do.
Shoot at other troops.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's not a war
Okay,
game.
I guess just in this, it's not a hex encounter game, right? It's not.
Oh, then it's not a war game.
Right. Look, you think that's a joke? There are some people that would make that argument.
It's
I
not
wouldn't.
a joke. And wargamers don't joke about that.
Some people would make that argument that basically it has to have hex
True,
and
it would
counters.
never be a joke.
So anyway, it's a great game, whether you want to call it a war game or not. Check it out. Undaunted, either.
This is one that, I usually will tell you, I think you'll like this or not. I have no idea.
I don't know how you'd feel about this either.
You just think you have an idea, by the way, whenever you give that opinion.
That is true.
You're usually wrong. Give me a pretzel. Sorry.
You should try this, though.
I apologize.
You should try this.
Whoop, whoop.
There you go.
My number 7 is a wargame adjacent game called Targi.
I thought this might show up on your list.
This is a good game. I do agree on that.
Oh, Snapple.
You sure this is on the right list?
Because it was in your casual list. You think this game is casual?
I do.
I know 2 things. This game is heavier than you think it is, and these pretzels are of the devil.
Indeed.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
It's like gnawing on a 2x4.
There's not enough liquid in the world to replenish what you've lost.
I've spent a lot of time around sawdust and
backup drink.
carpentry equipment, and I'm right back in the shop.
That's right, yeah.
I feel like I'm right back in the shop.
Yeah, these are like twisted MDF things. Yeah, they're awful.
Okay,
Military pretzels.
Targi is a 2-player only game in which you are deploying some workers around an action sort of square with all the cards around this large square giving you an ability, but also where your 3 workers intercept in the center of this card grid, you'll be earning that card as well. There's 2 kinds. You get something, one of the various goods in the game, or you can spend goods and buy that card, build it in front of you. There's too many gears within gears for this to be casual, I think. It's not just, what do I want from the middle, but how do I get it? Because to hit this card, there are 4 cards that go onto it, right? You'll need 2 of those to intercept. So which ones? In what order? And then when you trigger all the things you get 3 actions and possibly 2 cards from the center. The order in which you trigger them will also matter. How you build those cards in front of you will matter. There's too many moving parts that affect each other too much for this to be casual. I think people will kind of just...
No one is arguing that point right now.
I'm arguing that point.
Wait, slow down. So you're saying the game has cards?
Yeah.
I'm out.
It has cards.
This is too much.
It's a card war game-like game.
I think it has all that. I don't disagree with you. I just don't think you have to put that kind of effort in when you're playing. You can say, I want that resource. I'll put my thing here.
I'd be very hesitant.
You blocked me here? Oh, I guess I'll go there. You're talking about, look at all these things. I don't think you have to do that to play the game.
I just would be hesitant to teach this to somebody who didn't play a lot of games. I think this is going to be out of the comfort zone for a lot of people that don't play a lot of games.
I would, though.
Would you? Yeah. It has multiple resources.
Would you
give
your guests these pretzels?
That is also true.
I would not. In fact, remind me we're done here to get rid of those pretzels.
They're going on candy.
I thought that thing kept everything from getting stale.
No.
No, it's just a trash bag out on the counter. Why'd you think
No, not that.
Wait, when you said no, not that, I was making a joke. Is there actually a trash bag on the counter?
Weren't these pretzels from Essen 3 years ago? Or
that actually, we've had them for a while.
They were next to gummy bears from the late 1800s. Anyway, Targi is my number 7. I like this one. It's one of my favorite 2-player only games, in fact. It's fantastic.
Talking about setting things up for complexity, my next game I was talking about Magic. This is another spin-off of Magic. It's like mixing Magic, Mage Wars, and a deck builder together because it has all 3 of those mechanisms in it, and that's Codex.
Oh my gosh, what a throwback!
I have not played this.
I really like Codex.
What a throwback.
So in Codex, you have these... before the game starts, you pick a color magic that you have. And I think there's 6 colors. Yeah, there's 6 different colors of magic.
Got it.
But each of those is broken up into 3 sections. So purple magic is time magic. You can decide to do past, present, future.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But you have this notebook. You see all these cards. And again, you're kind of buying these cards, but then you put them in a deck, and you build this deck. And then you use this deck to play people in front of you and attack the other person.
It sounds like Mage Wars, too, like you said. So it's
like Mage Wars in that you have the book.
Right.
But then you not put the cards out in front of you, you put them in a deck.
I see.
And then you shuffle that deck.
Right.
And the stuff comes out of the deck and you cast spells and do different things. You have heroes that go up in levels. And it sounds fairly complex because, well, it is a little bit.
Sure.
But once you understand it, I think it goes fairly smoothly. But I wouldn't even suggest this to most people.
Right.
If you said, I really like Magic, but I'm looking for something else, I'd be like, oh, here's a cool game. And also, you get every card when you fork out the huge amount of cash that it costs to buy this. Serlin games aren't cheap. And now that this one's out of print,
Yeah, it's
it's
probably
probably
not
more
even,
expensive.
like, easy to find.
Yeah, but it's one of my favorites, so that's why it's on the list.
Is it in the library?
Yes.
There you go.
What library?
That would be funny if you were like, what library? Like, what do you think those
I
things
thought
are?
that was just Kenny's game collection.
Have you not looked at the card catalog next to your desk, Zee?
No.
What are you doing?
You were supposed to build that.
Oh. All right, well, my number 6 is not a war game, but it is a historical game, a historical themed game. I'm feeling like a lot of my games on this list have that kind of either historical
Well,
or
I would
war
never guess he
theme.
was a history teacher.
There is that. But it's funny, I don't always get gravitated towards those types of games. I don't know why, but this is one.
Your list says otherwise,
It
sir.
does. For this list, it absolutely does. This is a newer game called Unforgiven. This, to me, you had
Ooh,
what?
I was hoping you'd put this on your list.
Yeah, you. Who had Seven Wonders Duel? You did on the last list.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the one for me. This is. It has a very similar feel to Seven Wonders Duel mechanically, mechanismally. Is that the right?
Well, you think,
anyway.
you think
Mechanically.
Yeah,
you think it's really similar.
It's very similar, but I like what this does a little bit more. I like kind of the push and pull, the tug of war element that you've got there. I like the card play. This I feel like is a really, really cool game that is a nice theme that you wouldn't necessarily expect leads to a compelling gameplay experience, but it really does. If you have some background information on it, it maybe makes it a little bit better, but you don't need to. I mean, everybody knows, I think, even if you're not an American, that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. And
But that might be all you know.
that might be all you know, and that might be all you need to know. Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. You're
No, here's the thing, though. I can't divorce that from my playing the game.
Sure.
I love that theme a
Yeah.
lot. If it wasn't there, would I still like the game?
Oh, I
Yes.
would. Yeah.
It's a good game, but that theme really helps me.
The theme is great, but mechanically, I really like the way this game works too. I like the kind of the card market, the very familiar, kind of pyramid of cards that you're drafting from. I think it just works great as a two-player drafting method. And sure, that came from Seven Wonders Duel, and I think even was acknowledged in the rule book as such. But I feel like this does a little bit on top of that without kind of having the parts of Seven Wonders Duel that aren't my favorite, which is really kind of the science and military. That's just not my favorite part.
Technically, that's in this game, too.
Kind of is, but it feels different to me. I don't know. It just feels different to me than that.
If it's in Seven Wonders Duel, it's in this.
Well, whatever. I like the game.
I
like
would
it a
teach
lot.
Seven Wonders Duel to a casual game, which was why it was on my
Right.
casual list, first, because I think that theme is more accessible. This, I'd be like, do you like
Assassinations and theater.
Yes.
assassinations in
You're in.
theater? I would not be using that. It's about a trial.
It's about a trial. It's a good game.
And the law.
It is a very
What's
good
your number?
I don't know.
6.
6 is my number 6. It's Seven Wonders Duel.
game. No!
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Did you not even know that this whole time?
I never made this list before. No, I made the list. I forgot. I wasn't looking. Seven Wonders Duel is, if you've ever played Unforgiven.
Right.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Good. If you've never played Unforgiven, or if you have played Unforgiven, this is very similar to that, except that it came first and is better.
It did come first.
And everything Mike just said, just think of that, but with an interesting theme. No screen caps and weird, awful, grainy pictures.
Oh, no, the pictures are cool in that.
You like that?
I absolutely do.
100%.
I think it looks great. I
You
think it
like the
looks great.
sort of dusty-looking vibe
Yeah,
to the whole thing?
Oh my word! Like they are already doing that in 800 of our games. They're just
Yeah,
medieval
no,
paintings,
I-
whatever.
I
That's
think
true.
I think the art looks fantastic in Unforgiven. I like the art in this too. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't complain about the art in either of the games.
Oh, this is Frozen.
Oh,
Everything's wrong
Coconut
around
slush.
you. Like the pretzels,
stale.
stale. The
The
thing,
drink,
frozen.
frozen.
Your hat, It's nice. I like that brown.
That's shredded. Where we?
It's a good
There's
one.
other hats you would have made more fun of.
Seven Wonders Duel is a great tug of war style game. I think that doesn't physically need to show the tug of war, though it is there with the with the combat. I guess the military. Strength. I like the 3 different ways in which the game can end, but at the end of the day, you might convince me that it's a little lighter than perhaps the rest of the list warrants, and if so, add the expansion, either one, and they both then, it very much takes it outside of that realm of something I would teach to someone.
Sure, there's a lot of games like that.
Sure.
So both of the expansions are very good, and they both add enough moving parts that now it is just too much.
This is 2 crossovers so far.
It is.
With the previous list.
Yes.
Seven Wonders Duel is awesome and belongs on this list.
All right, my next game is one of the lightest on this list, but I think it's complicated enough because there's multiple things going on. There's bag building plus chess maneuvering, and this is War Chest.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say something different. Got it.
War Chest. Now, War Chest can be played with 4, but it's best with 2. It's again a game where you're kind of splitting stuff up. In War Chest, you have different units. Each game, you get different units, whatever they might be, and then each unit is represented by these big, amazing poker chips that you throw into a bag, and then you pull them from the bag, and you can use them to activate your chips. You can make your chips stronger or put more out on the board, but the more you put out on the board, the fewer in your bag to activate them, and then they each move differently, and you're trying to capture different points in the board. There's a lot going on in this game. It's not an easy game to teach because you're teaching this whole concept of whatever I have in my bag is also corresponds with my movement points, corresponds with how strong stuff is on the board. It's a really tricky line to walk.
Okay.
I really like this game, and the components don't hurt it.
Sure.
It's one of the nicest looking games.
Right?
It's super abstract. It's as abstract as chess. I mean, yes, the cannon can shoot things, and the horse can move farther, but yeah. That's about it.
Sure.
Well, yes, but chess also
The king is slow, the queen is very fast, that horse is missing a leg. So when it goes twice forward, it goes and turns. That is what it means, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, how does the castle work? Explain that theming to me.
It gets pushed over and only falls in a straight line.
Really far?
Really, as far as you want it to. But only in a straight line and never over something because it's a polite
It sounds like Zee's bedtime stories for kids about chess.
And I'm like trying to come up with a story. I'm like, so this bishop, you see, he liked to slide across rooms unseen. So he'd go from one corner to the other.
He does the electric slide.
Anyway, War Chess, a really good game.
All right, my number 5 is by far the heaviest game on my list, and I'd venture to say
Any list.
the heaviest game on any of these lists.
Is it a war game?
That's right. No, it's not a war game.
How can it be that heavy and not be a war game? Explain that to me.
Hey, this is a different kind of pretzel.
That one's not stale.
It might not be. Let's
Try it. Let's see what
Well,
happens.
I can see if you say something dumb first.
I won't. This is Cloud Spire. My number 5 is Cloud Spire.
Oh, that is pretty heavy.
This is very, very heavy.
What's heavier?
This is another game.
Pick something.
It's heavy both ways. The game itself.
Oh, it's got to be something heavier than this.
Oh, sure.
games.
Advanced Squad
I'm
Leader.
thinking about the games on my list.
ASL?
I mean, it's
ASL's heavier. Sure, I'm sure there are many
Roy?
games that are heavier, but this is a very heavy game.
Make it my number 2.
It's stale, but it's edibly stale.
The distribution of that shape makes it work. I
No,
guess.
I think it's just not been in there as long. How many
well,
more of
there you
those
go.
do I got in here? Keep going, Mike.
This is awful. All right, anyway, Cloud Spire is another game that you can play with more than 2, but to me,
that was
this
the
is
only one.
very much a 2-player game. It's kind of like a MOBA-style tower defense game where you are drafting different units that are represented by these poker chips, and
right.
every one of these units have multiple keywords that affect the way that they either can move or the way they attack or special powers they have. It is a bit overwhelming, quite honestly. It's not easy to teach. It is not easy to learn, but it's one of those games. It's a light lifestyle game, I think. It's one of those games where if you take the time to learn it and internalize the rule set and play it often enough that you don't need to relearn it every time you play it, it is an incredibly satisfying experience. A very, very, I don't know, it's deep. It's a very deep game.
I don't know if I want to get into spoilers here, but I would have thought you would put a different game from this company on your list.
It won't be spoiling mine. I did not put Too Many Bones on here only because I think that Too Many Bones works with different player counts better than Cloudspire does. Cloudspire, I've played with 4. I will never do that again if I can help it.
What about 3? There was some I only played it once.
We played it with 3, yeah.
And I felt there was some problems about that. I think 2 seems like it's the way it was made to go.
2 is or solo. It's a fantastic solo game, but 2 is the sweet spot for multiplayer. You can play it with 3. You could play it with 4. I wouldn't.
Mike's not kidding though. If we played this again, I'd be like, Mike,
you'd have to learn from the beginning. Yeah, you'd have to learn from the beginning again. And that's why Roy and I keep talking about playing it again, because we don't want to forget. I played it enough. I feel good that I could teach it. But anyway.
He put up 2 thumbs down is what I saw.
I don't think so. I think Roy's into it. So anyway, you should be into it too if it appeals to you, because it is a pretty thinky game and a lot of investment both monetarily and learning the rules. But I think it's worth it. Cloudspire, Zee.
It's also the biggest player egg you'll ever get.
Yes.
You're like, oh, there's like,
there's more. A lot of keywords, man.
I'll tell you, Mike, Roy might be somewhat into Cloudspire, but you know what he's really into?
What?
Is Marvel Champions, the card game.
Really?
Marvel Champions, the card game.
Roy just decided to buy you lunch. Wait, lunch is over.
Tacos.
Tostada.
Not that. No, never again.
Pretzels.
Never forget.
We all.
Hashtag too soon.
Never forget.
For like 6 months.
That's too soon. Terrible experience. Marvel Champions, the card game. The reason I went with this, and this is the only LCG of the living card game of these. The reason I went with this is because I think it is the closest from being a 1-player to a 2-player and staying really strong and interesting than some of the other ones I've played.
Okay.
The 2-player game gains quite a bit from the ability, because you are switching as your hero and its alter ego. You're switching back and forth between those 2 personas and either fighting or perhaps trying to deal with more intangible threats. The 2 players have to sort of coordinate what they want to do. I'm going to go on the offensive. Okay, I'll hang back and try to clear this threat. Or we need to mount an attack. So let's both sort of go for it. Put on the outfit and attack. You can intercept if your opponent's about to be attacked. You can sort of jump in the way and deal with that. The dynamic storytelling that you can sort of suck out of the marrow of the game, I like that about it, which is why I think it's a great single-player game, but it is an equally good 2-player game. And for most of the other ones, I sort of prefer them a little bit at 1, and they're also really good at 2. This one, Roy's like giving me this sort of weird like.
Roy's, yeah.
Do you like game?
What is going on? This is super creepy.
Game?
You really think this has an emergent narrative, this game? I guess I hadn't thought about it that way. I suppose.
No, I think it has. It's not a narrative by any means. I think it has highs and lows.
Okay.
And different sort of pressure points.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting beat. I'm going to go hide in on May's basement or whatever.
Right.
And while doing that, I'm not being attacked. Like, the game will not attack you.
Right.
If you are just Peter Parker. Then instead, whatever character it is, Rhino or whatever, they're out there spreading chaos. And when you're ready, you've healed, you've drawn some cards, you feel like you've built yourself up, you can sort of put on the costume again and go back out.
Okay.
If 2 players are doing that, it's more interesting.
Got it.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like it. Marvel Champions, the card game at 2 is a great game. Lots going on also, which is why it makes this list.
All right, I'm going to up the complexity here, although I think Mike might have beat me, but mine's a better game. So my number 2.
Better than Cloudspire?
You only played it once.
Twilight Struggle. If I had a mic, I would drop it.
Yeah, Twilight Struggle is a very, very.
No, Roy would come over here and yell at me.
Mike.
Oh, can I drop him?
Drop cake him.
Anyway, Twilight Struggle, the entirety of the Cold War from 1945 to 1989 in a box. There are other games of this ilk There's 1989. They just came out with Imperial Struggle last year. There's smaller versions like Watergate, Blitzkrieg have feelings of this, which I like those. Any game that does this, which is essentially a giant tug of war, that's what this game is. But man, the theme in this game, and every game, I don't know what to do. Every time I play this, I'm like, oh, do I want to mess around in Southeast Asia this time? Or I'm going to try to take Cuba. Or I'm going to North Korea this time. Or Cuba. So, anywho, I really liked all the options here. And then there's a space race going on in the background. This is just a great two-player game.
So let me ask you this question. I actually considered putting this on my list, but I've only played it as an app. And that's what kept me.
And you played against the computer?
Yeah.
Well, then you don't know the two-player. That's a solo experience.
I guess that's the thing that kept it off the list. I mean, I understand the appeal of it. I mean, it's a very, very clever system. I feel like you won't know what you're doing until you know both decks very well, because you kind of have to know what could happen.
You're going to, unless you're playing a kind-hearted teacher.
Right, you're going to get wrecked.
You're going to get wrecked your first game because, again, we were mentioning another game where you need to know the decks. There's a lot going on in it, but once you do, it is beautiful ballet.
Was this not like the #1 ranked on Board Game Geek for a time
while,
period?
Yeah, it really was. It's a superb game.
I mean, I figured it would make this list. Someone would put it on.
I did too.
I've never played it.
Yeah.
I thought you had both played it.
Try the app.
No, I'm good.
Try the app.
Do it
now.
The USSR is in it. I'm good.
So anyway, Twilight Struggle, fantastic game.
Back in the USSR. Something that's where you are. Oh, we're back. Okay.
So your number 5 was a game of, wouldn't you say, political intrigue?
Oh,
would you not say that Twilight Struggle is a game of political intrigue?
Oh, that was my number 5.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
Would you say that it's a game that involves
He's asking
political
you if you
intrigue?
Would please.
I'm not
going to say it because I don't
for a segue.
Tom's number 5 was a game of political intrigue.
I would say that Tom's number 5 is a game that has a hefty amount of political intrigue. My number 4 also is a game of political intrigue. At least it's themed that way. What it really is a fantastic two-player game, asymmetric game called Watergate. Watergate.
I just mentioned Watergate.
I'm aware. That's why I'm saying I was trying, Tom. I was trying to be simpatico between our lists.
And my mid list.
It would be. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to say that this is the heaviest game on in the planet, but it's also not one that I would feel.
You can't use that thing every time. You can't be like, it's not the heaviest game on the planet. Look, no kidding.
To me, I didn't feel comfortable. There is some game
that is the heaviest game on the planet.
There is.
Well, true.
I did not feel comfortable putting this on the casual list, so I did feel comfortable putting it on this list. Okay,
and that's why I had the middle list.
No one told you about the middle list. It's not fair. If no one tells you about the middle list, how are you supposed to know that?
I didn't get the memo. Maybe it's in the card catalog and I just didn't get to it. But
it's by the pretzels on the counter.
Fair enough. Watergate is a fantastic two-player game where you have kind of an asymmetric feel where one person is playing as Nixon, the other person is playing as the press, trying to kind of infiltrate what's happening behind the scenes, the whole Watergate controversy. Again, this is a game where if you are familiar with the theme, then likely it's going to even ramp it up even more. But even if you don't know anything about Watergate, it's a very compelling game. It just is a really good two-player game. It feels like it is so well attuned that I've heard people argue that one side is harder than the other. I don't know if that's true. It feels very balanced to me.
It's almost symmetrical.
Yeah,
It's the brief. It's no.
I feel like it's pretty well balanced. I mean, and honestly, the way I prefer to play the game is to play it back to back and change roles. That to me is my favorite way to play this game. 45 minutes, maybe? At most. Yeah.
Really?
So you can knock out two of these in an hour and a half.
Good. Then you play for like 15 minutes.
Right. And it's just a really, really compelling experience. A very, very good two-player game.
How many of your games have been historical so far?
That's a really, I didn't realize it.
That's clearly the thing at the forefront.
If you count Shalia, which technically could. Probably not. I'll keep that one out.
It's not an event, though. How many of these are like kind of based on almost specific events, if not specific?
So far, 4 of mine have been historical-based
Yeah.
That's
just
fine.
has been-
That's fine. Just you keep like, well,
lot of
I'm putting a historical game on my
I'm
list.
just
A lot
saying.
of mine are based on historical events too. If you use my definition of historical, as some of you know from various lists I've done in the past, which historical basically just means
This
old.
is true.
Okay.
Here we go.
My number 4 is also a multiplayer game, but I've played a lot of it at only 2, and I think it is a great game for 2. This is Everdell, my number 4.
Whoa! This was not a game I expected to be on this list.
Right? It's a terrible pick.
It's an awful pick. No, I don't know that I've played Everdell at 2.
Pretzel or not.
I don't know if I've played this at 2.
I played it at 2.
Have you?
It's fine at 2.
Okay.
Yeah, you played it too.
I played it at 2 with Roy. It was a memorable experience. Let me tell you. Next week, when we do our top 10 gaming experiences of all time, I don't want to give any spoilers. Number 1, Everdell with Roy.
Before people get too excited.
We're not doing that list.
We're
I'm
not
sorry.
doing that
We're
list
not.
next
Sorry,
week.
that was just a joke.
Now, people, you're going to get at least 3 emails about that. 2 of them are going to be like, please do it, and one of them is be, please make Mike shut up.
There we go.
Okay, Everdell.
He sent me that email.
I'm going to go write it
Garcia.
right as soon as I'm done here. Throw out the pretzels, then write that email. Everdell at 2 players is very tight. You're still fighting over the same worker placement spots. There are fewer of them, of the ones you sort of put along the floor that change, that you don't deploy all 4. I think you put out 2 or 3 or whatever.
I think it's 3.
You put out fewer, so there are fewer places. There's a lot of, again, tactical gaming in general is something that I really like. Having a long-term plan is nice, and especially one that you come up with, you sort of formulate, and then sits in the back of your head. And you check on it every now and then. Like, am I still trying to do this? Yeah, great, okay, whatever, go away. How do I react to what's happening? And this is a game that gives you lots of moments for that. There's a pool of cards that basically players are sharing. They can build from it. You better be on top of what's out there if you intend to be opportunistic in what you're building. Worker placement spots. When your opponent recalls their workers at the end of one of their seasons, how long do you wait and sort of do other things until they finally go and you're like, aha, finally, I can do what I've been waiting to do. Combos you make, you know, what you go for in the game.
That's what we should have here.
Combos. Can I ask you a devil's advocate question, Z? Say yes, because I'm going to do it anyway.
Yes.
All right. Pretty big deck of cards.
Yes.
Many of the cards require another card to interact with.
Yes.
Do you feel like with 2 players that becomes a problem? Like, do you feel like you're kind of looking for cards that don't ever show up in the market?
That's my concern.
How many more cards do you think you see in a 3-player game?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I
but
don't
they're
know.
being cycled
They are being
through
cycled
more.
a bit more.
So let's say, like, I don't remember. There was like the husband and wife, or the mayor and I don't know. You
the
need a
clock
card.
tower and yeah.
And I'm like, I remember playing. And I was like, well, where's this card gonna be? Is it gonna ever show up? So that's gonna happen less in a 2-player game.
Maybe, but there's also a lot of, and you probably remember this, there's a lot of locations where you draw cards in the game that you probably don't use a lot.
That is true. And also, you've played this a lot
And you will
too.
use them more in a 2-player game.
Right. And that's why I know you've played this a lot too. That's why this was a legitimate question I was asking. Have you haven't found that to be a problem?
Way. It felt, inflammatory.
This was a horrible pick, and I want you to defend
it. Actually felt like a lawyer, like, yes, Your Honor!
I'm leading the witness is what I'm doing here.
Right. Objection.
I'm leading you to your ultimate demise.
Overruled. Yes.
No, he's fine. I overruled your objection.
Oh.
Have you not watched an accurate Law and Order show?
I only played Unforgiven once. So.
Feels like this is...
Everdell I really enjoy, so there you go.
My number 4, I don't know if you would expect me to put this on my list, but this is a game that came out last year, and I love it, and it can play with more than... It might go up to 5, I'm not sure. I will only play it at 2. Maybe solo, but 2 for sure. Because it's so big, even at 2, that more than that is just too much, but I love the game, and that's Monumental.
I almost put this on the list, Tom.
Really?
It was on my short list. I almost put it on there. I agree with you 100%.
Monumental is a deck-building game where when you play the cards, you play them in this, they're put out in this grid, and then you pick a row or a column to do. And then all those cards activate, and you get resources, and you use them to buy more cards, wonders of the worlds, and then move around on the map. It's fantastic.
It's such a good game.
I really like this game. It's one of my favorite games. The analysis paralysis is huge with more than 2 players. With 2, it's just exactly where you want it to be. I'm looking at your board going, oh, that's interesting. And then right when my interest starts waning, it's my turn again.
Yeah.
You know, with 3 people, you're like, oh, now it's your turn. And also the cards change more from the cards you can buy. When you're playing with 4 players, you might as well not even look at it until. But with 2 players, he might buy 1 or 2, so I'm looking for my second choice too.
Yeah, it gives you that turn angst of like, don't buy my card, don't buy the one I want. Yeah.
And having more players doesn't change the warring aspect of it.
Right.
With 2 players, it's not really a fighting game anyway. It's more. I mean, there's a little bit of fighting, but it's not.
Certain civilizations will be more suited to fighting. You might, if you have a more warlike civ.
But you're not like conquering the other person. You're more like pushing them out of areas.
Right.
Okay.
I really like this game. It takes up a lot of table space, so I think it also works well with 2.
Yes.
In that regard, because it takes up less space. But just a fantastic game. I keep thinking about this. I haven't played it for a while, and I'm kind of raring to try it again.
Yeah, well, the expansion hopefully is relatively soon, and that will definitely be something I want to get back out and play.
Doesn't this have like 1 billion expansions, though?
No, it has 1 so far.
Wait, I'm thinking of a different game, then. What's it called?
Monumental.
I'm thinking of Dominations.
Yeah, Dominations came out at the beginning with a bunch of expansions.
Never mind. And this whole time, I've been thinking of like, this is a little triangle game.
Yeah, no.
This is a deck building game. This is from a designer you like, Matthew Dunstan.
Yeah. I haven't played this yet.
It's a good game.
There's a bunch of games on these lists I haven't played.
Catch up on
all 3 of them, in fact.
Yeah.
The problem with catching you up on this one is
it'll be
a 2-player game,
too,
right?
yeah.
Nobody caught that, huh?
Yeah.
I said there were games I hadn't played on all 3 lists.
Hey, if you had to spell out the joke.
I know, it was too subtle.
Monumental.
Hey, we got a.
We have a couple super chats that are all fawning on Mike.
Oh,
First one says, Mike is spot on with everything he said today. Give this man some fresh pretzels.
You say, I appreciate the thought, but I don't want pretzels as my reward, not if they're these. There's another super chat?
It said fresh pretzels.
Oh, okay.
There was that one way up there.
I thought it said flesh pretzels.
Oh, no.
There it is. Great list. Mike, do you like Spirit Island at 2?
I do like Spirit Island at 2. I considered that.
That was the only question asked. You don't need to expand.
I considered it for the list, but I also think that it works well at higher player counts, too.
I saw a comment that said that you and me were just way too mean to Mike, so we're doubling down.
Double down.
I'm not mean.
It said that
I'm equally mean.
Someone said I don't know how Mike puts up with Zee and Tom. They're so awful, or something to that effect.
No. We all have fun here. Help me? No. All right. My number.
Mike's blinking Morse code.
Yeah.
Goodness.
People are going to think this is like for real. We're all being just huge dorks.
We're just
folks.
being very silly. My number 3 is a 2-player only asymmetrical game called Skull Hollow. This is.
Ooh, I like this game.
Isn't this a good game? Yeah, this is a really good game. This is one where you are either playing as these forest-dwelling creatures, and there are a number of them.
Like the Robin Hood-ish.
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah, or you are playing as this big kind of behemoth monster, and the way it plays is different for each side. But you're playing cards essentially to kind of drive your actions. And one of the things that I like about the game so much that I think is very cool is that when you are attacking the monster, when you're the kind of forest creatures, there's a board that represents that monster, and you are literally climbing onto him. And the different spots on the monster represent different actions that they can take. It might be stomp or smash. And if you can disable that part, now the monster doesn't have that action anymore until they can heal up. It's like, I really want to be able to do the smash attack, but I can't because they've disabled my arm or my claw or whatever it might be.
Okay.
It's not the heaviest game, and so this would probably be better on that middle list that we don't have.
I debated on this one for a long time. I really like it.
But I don't think it's a casual game either.
No, I don't think that is.
So it fits on this list really well. It has a great production, as you can see there on the screen. I think it's
This is Pencil First's best game.
Yeah, well, probably so, and I like a lot of their games. But this is just the right level of asymmetric. You know how sometimes asymmetric games are almost too much and you feel like you're playing 2 different games?
Sure.
This doesn't have that, but you also do feel like you're doing something unique to the other player, from the other player.
Okay.
Just at the right level. So I think Skull Hollow is a really, really solid game. Good production. Just a good game. Check it out.
Another one I haven't played.
I don't know if you'd like it or not. I think you might.
You might. I don't
My
know.
number 3 is a classic game, Magic the Gathering. I saw some folks in the comments talking about Magic the Gathering a little bit earlier, sort of thinking like, oh, maybe somebody will put it on their list. I did, and maybe somebody else did.
It's not on my list, but it could have been.
It's not
again, if I had made the list this week, it might have been on my list.
Yeah, really?
I've been messing so much with that new
It's sort
set.
of in your head now,
I
right?
haven't played it enough to put it on my list.
We're going to actually fix that. But
Yeah, I'm sure. I've played.
Magic the Gathering is certainly, there's no question as to which of the 2 lists it belongs on.
Yeah.
Because there's a ton going on. It's a very deep game with an evolving card pool, if you wanted to have an evolving card pool, and an evolving meta game if you wanted to. But I don't worry about either one of those things, really. I don't. I used to buy the dual decks, which they no longer produce, but this would be, 2 whatever themed decks balanced against each other. I would get that and play those 2 against each other. So didn't even worry about the deck building, the deck construction or modification. Just play the game. And even that, as basically as low a level of entry as you can get, is still a thinky game with a lot of steps to your turn, a lot of things to consider. When you attack and don't, what do you play out, the timing of what you do. There's just a ton going on. Yes, there are things about Magic the Gathering that other CCGs have, collectible card games, have for decades now attempted to fix and change because there are obvious things that didn't age so well, like mana and getting too much mana or not enough to be able to do what you want to do. But the game is a classic for a reason also. It's a fantastic card game that has a lot going on in it. So Magic the Gathering, even casually, which is definitely where I live with it, is an enjoyable experience. My number 3.
if there's one thing that's not makes it casual, and I was just complaining to Roy about this, I bought these new decks, and they literally don't have the rules in them. They list a few things, and I'm like, okay, great. There's a new set out. I'm like, oh, cool. How does this new stuff work? You got to go hunt it down online, and it's not even that easy to find. I type, how does this work? And I'll find an article written by somebody talking about it, or an overview on a news website that explains it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like Magic is being taught through osmosis to people. Like the best way for you to learn Magic
is someone to teach you.
Someone to teach you Magic, which is probably, I would guess, the way 99% of people who know Magic have learned it that way.
I agree.
Yes. I do remember a couple of years ago they were trying really hard, they being Wizards, to kind of make an effort to teach new players, to introduce new players to Magic, but it seems like that's kind of gone by the wayside now. You're right. It's like
it just feels that way. Like I'm opening these cards, I'm like, I don't know what this does. Go to look in the rules. It's not there. It's online somewhere.
Right.
Okay, fine. I can figure it out.
Sure.
Or I ask Roy.
But you also have a lot of background and context for the game.
Yeah, but that would keep it off the casual list.
Oh, sure.
Straight up on that regard.
For sure.
All right, we're on number 3. I love this game with 2 players, as long as one of those players knows how to hit a wall.
Oh, come on. You mean a rock?
Anything non-movable.
Hashtag too soon.
It's been a year. Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion.
Actually, you know what? I didn't even think about this. Is a great pick. I didn't even think about it.
I love this game with 2 players.
Yeah.
It's fine with 1.
Sure.
It's a good solo game, and I played it solo. But being with one person, you're like, let's do it together, and you go. Because with one player, you have to play 2 characters anyway.
Yeah.
So with 2, you might as well each have your own character.
Right.
And then you just get into it.
I zoned out of being able to play it because I was playing solitaire.
Right.
And I started with the 2 characters as they say, and I went through, I don't know, a few missions.
Yeah.
And eventually it was too much to keep track of.
It is.
So I sort of like, the weight of it sort of like eventually just pushed me out. And I put it down and figured, I'll come back to this when I can split the load with another player and I can run 1 character.
With 2, you're right. This is a good pick.
Well, we played 2 player together a lot, actually.
We did.
And it was really fun.
It was.
I had more fun with Mike than by myself.
Wow, see?
That's a high compliment.
They said something nice, see?
But
where was I during all this? You both suck.
I'm not playing this with 3. Actually, I have played it. I played regular Gloomhaven with Zee back in the day, and it was better solo.
You suck.
No, that was actually, I was playing with 3 people, and I found that I liked solo better than 3, but I like 2 better than 1. I just like this best with 2.
Yeah,
and it works really well. You nice back talk and forth. I don't know. I know some people love Gloomhaven to get together with 4 people, have like almost a role-playing night they're going through, and I get that. That's fine. But the 2-player thing worked really well for me.
Most of these scenarios are designed in such a way that it's really close one way or the other, and with one other person there, those kind of stand-up moments they just feel so much better that way.
Again, it does help if you have a modicum of swinging ability.
And now he took away everything. I was feeling good for a moment, and now
you can go and watch our live playthrough
Zee.
if you want to see the worst luck ever. Actually,
it was awful. It was awful. I thought it was statistically impossible
Can't flip a card
to do as
save your
poorly
life.
as I did. I think I'm breaking the realm of mathematics somehow.
All right. So anyway,
I wouldn't know.
Gloomhaven,
He's
Jaws
not
of the
that good
Lion.
at it.
I know. Ooh, we're at the top almost.
Yeah, we're getting close. All right. My number 2 is a tactical skirmish game that technically plays with more than 2, but again, this is one I think is very, very clearly best at 2. This is Wildlands by Martin Wallace.
Really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is a great 2-player game.
He loves this game.
Yeah, this is a great 2-player game.
I love it too, but I'm happy with it at 4.
I think it's better too, especially on I would say with the base box. This is probably, I'm glad you mentioned that. It's okay with the base box because those maps are a little bit larger, but there have been some 2-player maps that have come out that it's so good on those 2-player maps, man. They're great.
Okay.
Basically this idea is that you've got some units, and it's kind of asymmetrical too, but it's all card driven. And at the beginning of the game, you are drafting cards to decide where your units are going to pop up on the map, and you're also deciding where some gems are going to be placed out on the board that your opponent is trying to get. It's actually your opponent's gems. And so it creates some really clever tactical play where you can either try to spread the gems out so they have to run all over the map, or maybe you're going to put the gem somewhere that you can pop up and hit them if they try to come out and get it. Yeah, this is a really...
I like to pop out and hit it. Yeah.
That's right. This is a game that is not overwhelming in the rules, but it's definitely, I don't think, a casual game either, because there's enough card play and interactions between the cards and line of sight and different terrain, and the different maps can also make things a little bit more complex. They might involve different types of movement or things along those lines. So I talk about Wildlands a lot, maybe too much, but it's a really good game with 2. That's my number 2. Wildlands.
Too much. My number 2 is, again, one of those games that more strongly than probably any other game I've said I prefer with 2. This is a game I will stick to the count of 2 players only, and after that, not only does it get sort of messier tactically, but the resolution of things is going to be a total pain.
I know what it is.
You do know what it is. Go ahead.
Hiroshima Hex.
You know it!
Because I thought about that when you play it 4, you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I'm sorry. At that point, I need a computer to figure this out. Hiroshima Hex, absolutely. A great 2-player game. This is a light war game. Yeah, I'm going to use it. Who is Zee? I don't even recognize Zee anymore.
This is an abstract. This is an abstract game.
In this one, you are taking 2 groups, 2 factions in this post-apocalyptic world, and having them clash on the battlefield. In a very organized manner, in fact, because you're going to be taking turns deploying units and traps sometimes and whatever. And then at some point, a battle is triggered, and you go through the resolution order of these things as they wipe each other off the board. So it's the cadence is very interesting. It is not a game in which there's sort of a constant battle. It's mostly chess. And then you give all the chess pieces automatic weapons.
Right. I was going to ask if you thought of this as an abstract.
It is.
Yeah,
yes.
The funny thing is, I actually enjoy the theme and allow it to sort of inform my fun of the game a lot in this game.
I think the theme actually, it's very abstract, it's weird, but the theming comes out also into different armies.
Sure.
This army throws nets.
Right,
this army
right.
has one attacker.
I really think that, yes, while this feels mechanically, it feels abstract and abstracted to a high degree.
Right.
It's very thematic, I think. You know, there's like an army that's zombies.
Right.
And they keep coming back. When one of them gets killed off, you don't discard the unit. You put it on top of your spawn pile. Stuff like that is all over the game.
Yeah.
And it makes it feel like I'm playing these people. So I started like using and identifying the different groups. This game is an amazing mash and mix-up between a cool theme.
It is the mash. Hiroshima.
Yeah, I was gonna say mash up or match, one of the two. So I went with mash. It's a great meeting place between a really cool theme that I like a lot, post-apocalyptic gobbledygook, and lots of thinky tactical moments. And I've played this a ton. I mean, this is one of my most played games. So Hiroshima Hex at 2 players. Lots to think about.
I would not want to play this with more than 2. I think you're,
All right, let's reel back now. I've been very Ameritrashy on my list. Let's jump over to the
Could have just left
Euro.
the word Ameri out of it. Am I not supposed to be the one eating it? I'm confused.
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, it's anytime you say something dumb.
Oh no, that was classy. That was a good burn.
That was classic. That's why I ate the last remaining non-sale pretzel.
Okay. All right.
All right. This one I'll play with 3. 3's fine. I refuse to play with 4 or 5, but I love it with 2. And if there's 2 people and you want to play a Euro game, let's play my favorite game, Le Havre.
Oh, okay.
Le Havre is great at 2. Now I know there is, as an aside, there is a 2-player game called Le Havre Inland Port.
Right.
Which is a very different game.
There's also a 2-player game called Fields of Arles.
Also a very different game.
It is.
None of his games really feel like Le Havre to me. Like I'll say, Agricola and Caverna, they feel the same.
Sure.
And Hallertau feels like Fields of Arles.
Right.
Le Havre has a little bit of that in there. I mean, he definitely wants you to feed your people. But in this game, and those are nice containers.
I thought you might say something about that.
Those are pretty containers. But I love this game. Just collecting resources. And with 2, it's great because you go 4 times around or 3 times around. You know, and when you're like, I'm only getting to go 3 times, that's still pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just get to do stuff like, I'll take that pile of fish. I'll buy this. I'll turn this into, I don't know. I'm just enjoying myself the whole time. I love this game.
It's been so long since I played this. I need to play it again. You really love this game, man.
I really do. I think about it all the time. People come over and they'll be like, let's play a game. I'm like, there's 4 people. All right, we'll play something else.
Just assume that if you meet Tom at a con somewhere and he's maybe looking past you, just imagine he's thinking about Le Havre is what it is. Don't take it personally.
I want that pile of fish.
He's distracted by the fish.
Buy that.
L'Havre.
Are you saying no? Apparently, Roy hit. We reached max awkwardness.
And he was like, I have to move on. And he's like, you guys are making this so awkward. We're like, yeah, we know.
Roy hit the cringe
It wasn't
button.
an accident.
All right, so
The number 1 2-player advanced
number
game.
1.
That's going to irritate the people. I've already noticed people coming. They better
Has
mention this.
has it been on any of our lists?
It has not been
No
on any of our
crossover for
lists.
you.
No.
Is it a 2-player only game?
It is a 2-player only game. I have a sneaking suspicion that may cross over with Z for his number 1. We both are very fond of this game.
He just says he likes the game. No, I never heard Z say he was fond of any game.
Z has a tremendous amount of personal fondness for this game. From the Doctor, Reiner Knizia, this is Blue Moon or Blue Moon Legends. Unfortunately, both of them are out of print, which I don't think will be the case.
This is your number 1?
Yes, this game is fantastic. Are you kidding me?
I could eat 4 pretzels.
I
on
love
one.
this game.
do
To
it.
me,
You gotta
when we mentioned that we were doing these lists, I almost thought, okay, can this go on the casual game list? And I thought, no, this is not a casual game because, again, it's a fantastic game. Like a lot of Knizia's designs, the rules are relatively simple, but the depth is in the decks. And I've heard a lot of people say, oh, this is just like glorified war. If you win, you win by luck. No. Play against somebody that knows how to play this game.
Bring it, Tom. I'm
They
gonna smoke
will
you.
destroy you consistently. It's not a game based on luck. It's not about luck of the draw. Of course, there's luck. Anytime you're drawing cards, luck is going to be involved. But this is a game of push and pull, tug of war. There's a little bit of getting into the mind of your opponent. There's a lot of different type of card powers, and the different factions play differently. All of that, I think, makes it less than not a casual game and more advanced game.
You're saying a lot of dumb things, I guess?
Apparently. Hey, so bad. This is a great... I think this is a fantastic game. I'm going to keep talking, though, so he'll keep eating these horrible pretzels.
Do it. Talk about how amazing it is.
Yes. No.
Whose idea was this pretzel thing?
It was yours.
You.
Eat more. I really, really think this is a fantastic two-player game. It's not the heaviest on any of these lists, but I don't think it's a casual game. That's why it's my number one, Blue Moon or Blue Moon Legends. And I feel like Zee's going to let me down. He looks like he's disappointed in my pick.
No, it's a good pick.
He's disappointed he didn't pick it.
I got 2 words for you. Middle list.
I know, but this is not a casual game,
This was like
Zee.
just outside of casual and just below advanced.
Okay.
This list is called advanced.
I know, but it's not casual. But
it just doesn't feel that advanced. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
and
tough,
yet,
right?
when I made the other list, I'm like, nah, Blue Moon is not casual.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what was
It's almost
exactly
like
what you
somebody,
mean.
some jerk, some hatted demon, had some sort of unspoken middle list and forgot to tell anybody about the middle list.
We couldn't do a top 10 middle of the road two-player games. I didn't know what to do for that regard.
Yeah, it was basically we did this either-or thing, and this fit on this list more than on casual.
It would have been the lightest game on my list, I think.
Yeah.
All right, what's your number one?
You think Blue Moon is lighter than Seven Wonders Duel?
I do.
Really? I don't know. I don't know about that.
I do. I think so. Anywho, my number one is a two-player only game.
Okay. Trying to think.
It's War Game Adjacent.
Cool.
It's evil. It's full of evil, this game. I love
Claustrophobia.
evil.
Whatever that game is that you like so much. The Claustrophobia game. 1427.
Wrong year, so
And a
that's
half.
not it. Gotcha. Claustrophobia 1643.
All right.
You're so dumb.
That's right.
Eat a bunch of pretzels.
No.
No, yeah, Claustrophobia 1643 or Claustrophobia. The original one was just called that. Whatever. Either one. I don't care. Pick one. Is a fantastic two-player game. A ton of the things we've talked about here as being good two-player things are in this game. Asymmetric. Exploration. Tactical and strategic. Like you have an overreaching mission you have, so because you have a scenario, but then you need to react to what the other player is doing. One player has a group of humans who are trying to achieve something. Go into these tunnels under the earth and then bomb an exit for the demons, or just escape, or whatever. The other player, the aforementioned demons, with an endless supply of troglodytes hunting you down, impeding your progress, messing you up along the way. Combat system, smooth, clever, straightforward. Mechanically, a great mix of a Euro game in many ways to high thematic concepts. Everything about this game sings for me. I think it's a fantastic game. The new one took some getting used to because it was pretty different, actually, especially visually, and then they reworked some of the rules to the previous edition of this. But either one I find very captivating. It's also a game that manages to be a dungeon crawler in like 45 minutes, which is just a rarity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's also, isn't it rare to have a two-player only dungeon crawl? I'm trying to think of another one.
It's two-player only, very different sides.
Yeah.
Quick. Many of the scenarios, not all of them, but many of them involve actually finding out what's in front of you in these caverns. I love that. I mean, this game is superb. It's a giant box, so it's a lot for a two-player only game. It's quite a bit, but yeah, it's so good.
All right, Tom, you're going to have to redeem us because according to the chat, Chris's non-existent list and some lists that apparently Roy put up are better than all three of ours. So you've got to save us here.
Okay, well, first of all,
Wow.
no. Secondly, we'll talk about that when I'm done with my number one. But thirdly, it's a crossover of sorts.
Oh.
It should be a full crossover, but one of us doesn't bother playing new games. and that would be Summoner Wars. But to be clear, 2nd edition.
The garbage edition.
No, I mean, I love them. It's a slight variation of a better. I love Summoner Wars. I really do. It is streamlined. It is fun. Every faction feels completely different than the other ones. The concept of your deck. Oh yeah, this is the picture from Summoners 1-1.
Scared me. Like,
that's not me. That's we're throwing Chrissy under the bus here.
There you go.
Chrissy, you put that picture.
Chrissy.
Anyway, Summoner Wars. The concept of your deck also being your units and making the choice to put out the unit or it being part of your magic.
Money. Yeah, right.
That's not really in many games, if any. And then also the fact that it's a really small deck runs out pretty quickly. The game is forced to end.
Right.
I just love it. I really do. It's not easy to it's a good game that's to be taught to you. It's not that difficult to play after a while. To get good at it, it is, though. This is, again, one of the lower ones on my list of complexity-wise, but it's my favorite. So, to play 2 players. If someone's here, they're a gamer, they want to play a 2-player game, I'm like, ooh, have you ever played Summoner Wars? That's where we're at.
Did you put this on your list too?
I did not. It's not my favorite game. I think it's fine, but I don't love it.
When he says not my favorite game, he means...
No, I legitimately
You played the
do.
original, but not the new one?
I have not played the new. I've played the original. I legitimately mean I think it's fine. I think it's like, for me, it would put it like a 7 maybe.
All right, let's go to you folks. Well, we didn't do a poll this time, but we'll let you shout out some in the comments. We'll answer them. But if you shout them out, you also got to thumb up the list too. I like to hit 200 thumbs if we can.
I've seen Star Wars Rebellion. I have not played Star Wars Rebellion.
We'll do. Roy said, what was it? Your number 2, Roy, was War of the Ring.
Yeah.
And his number 3 was Star Wars Rebellion.
Sure.
So that will make everybody else happy.
Yes, I just haven't played it.
I like both those games. They just didn't make my top 10. That's all.
Right. Arkham Horror was brought up. Okay.
Race for the Galaxy is not that. I don't think it's too casual for this list. Race for Galaxy is an excellent 2-player game, and it's very possible that I didn't think of it. But let's pretend that I did think of it. I like it at all player counts these days.
Yeah, it's about the same.
I used to say it was best as a 2-player game, but I've come around on that. I really like it with 3 too.
A couple people have mentioned Starship Catan. That was on my short list. I had that written down along with Monumental.
Starship Catan?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one.
Whew, here they go.
Dice Throne. That's not a bad choice. I think that's more casual. I actually did consider Dice Throne.
Dice Throne looks more complicated than it is.
It's really, yeah.
Imperial Settlers,
Some of you
Empires
people are
of the
saying
North.
games we actually put on our list.
Right.
Yeah.
Terraforming Mars. I like that one more, I think.
Yeah. I did consider Fields of Arl. Someone put Fields of Arl there, and I mentioned it during...
The game face-to-face, no, it's casual. Journeys to Middle-earth,
Yeah.
no, I'd pick War of the Ring over that any day.
Battle Lore, I thought about it. 2nd edition, anyway.
Oh, that's true. That's a good one.
Shogi showed up on the casual list for
Me,
you.
yeah. Robinson Crusoe? I don't know. Roy, what were other ones that you had that we didn't put?
I had I don't even know.
Shouldn't you
Roy
remember?
does not even know what
You just said
wrote.
them like 20 seconds ago.
I typed it in the chat.
You made up your
Here we go.
list.
Here we go.
All right,
Marvel
Roy said
Champions.
Marvel Champions and UK with you. War of the Ring, Star Wars Rebellion, Summoner Wars, it's both of us, leaves out Mike.
me.
Battle Lore, Unmatched, that goes with you. Magic with you. HeroClix with nobody.
Dice Masters with you.
Inspector Ops.
I expect Ops at 2.
Yeah, for
Some
me,
of those, I
Unmatched would have been on that kind of on that
I
same
know.
list with the Blue
was,
Moon.
I was... Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? I don't know. It's obviously a very intangible thing how heavy or complex a game is.
All right, shoot
You
back
just
to the
sort of
bottom.
go,
Let's see what
you
people
go
are
with
saying.
that gut feeling.
Yeah.
Other games people are saying.
Netrunner.
Netrunner.
Ooh, Grand Austria Hotel is a good choice because that's not very good with more than 2.
A lot of people are saying Res Arcana.
Res Arcana is on my middle
Res
list.
Arcana works fine with more though.
It does, right.
I like that at 3.
I like it best with 2, actually.
I like it best with 7.
Cthulhu Wars Duel? I didn't play that.
I considered it.
5 Tribes, says Joey. Come on, man. It's
Netrunner?
great at 2, but it's equally good with more.
Yeah, I agree.
Netrunner is
You're crazy.
a tough game to get into.
A lot of people saying Spirit Island, but again, Spirit Island is better at, I think, or not better, but it's good at other players.
Blood of an Englishman is pretty light,
American
actually.
Sign Language.
Star Realms? No, Star Realms will be in the middle list.
Scythe? No, not a 2. That's not its best player
Ooh,
count.
I would not play Scythe with 2.
Yeah, no, that's not its best player count.
Castle Burgundy is great with
Burgundy,
2.
it's also
maybe.
pretty casual, though.
Takinoko
good, too.
Takinoko I would consider to be casual.
Very much casual, yeah. Brass, baby.
Hive, I just don't like Hive that much, but I can see it being on this list. You like Hive, right?
I
That's
do.
your middle list.
Kinda. Kinda.
Dominion is good, but Dominion fits in this. Dominion's in the middle list for me for sure, because yes, Dominion can be complex, but it can also be pretty simple.
And it
depending on
goes
the
up to
cards you
like
pick.
any kind. The player count is
Right.
not.
It doesn't really
there's
change
nothing
things.
about 2 players
Right.
that makes you go, Dominion at 2.
Right.
We also realize that there are people out there who their entire top 10 would be heavy war games.
Yes.
And other people whose
yeah.
entire top 10 would be,
FFG games or,
well,
you know.
that's kind of where we were a little
Yeah.
bit, but abstract strategy games.
Sure.
Some people do that.
Absolutely,
And some
absolutely.
people would pick from like the Cosmos 2-player line or newer games on that line, like
sure.
what's the Pipeline 2-player game?
Yeah, Curious Cargo, but I wasn't
Curious
a huge
Cargo.
fan of Curious Cargo myself.
That's because it was too advanced.
It made my head melt.
We did not get the 200 thumbs, so we're just going to keep talking.
There we
that
go.
doesn't work.
Yeah, it'll work. Give them
Batman,
more time
Gotham
to get
Chronicle.
there. All these people who are putting up suggestions are not thumbing this up. So.
That's correct.
Start. No, don't do that. All right. Anyway, lots of good answers here, folks. Thanks so much for watching. If you're watching this later on, obviously put your favorite in the comments, 2-player game. But see if someone else put it first, and if they did, then thumb up their response.
There
It's
you
kind of
go.
like a way to vote for your
Yeah.
favorite 2-player game.
Yeah.
I like it.
The ones that get the most thumbs. We do appreciate y'all watching. We got more videos going up all week. Tomorrow, you guys have a video going up where you reviewed
Anno 1800 goes up tomorrow.
Anno 1800, so keep an eye out for
Squares
that.
review on
Super
that.
chat says Z, no Arkham horror. I'm thinking is what they mean.
Yep.
No, I'm guessing you mean the LCG. And like I said when I talked about Marvel Champions, I think this one is better at going from 1 to 2 than Arkham at 1 from 1 to 2 players. So yeah, I just picked one of the 2.
Ooh, we hit 200 thumbs. Woo!
Did it?
Brian says, love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
And then we got other reviews going up all throughout the weekend. And Sunday, I'll be reviewing Descent, the new version of Descent coming out. I keep forgetting the tagline to that one.
Oh, yeah, I can't.
Descent.
There's a new.
I want to say it's not
Another one.
Another one. What was it?
Legends in the Dark.
Legends in the Dark. Descent Legends in the Dark. That review's going up Sunday. So anyway, we'll see you all next time. Until then, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
I'm Mike DiLisio.
Thanks to Roy and Chris for helping put this together. See you next time.